Hello sports fans, welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we're going to be going over my 2023 NFL predictions. So, we're going to be going over my predictions for every NFL team's record, and my award predictions, my playoff predictions, and then eventually my Super Bowl prediction. But beginning things in the AFC East, this is one of the hardest divisions to predict. At 4 or last in the AFC East, I've got the New England Patriots. So the Patriots are a team that could be better this season. They weren't great last year, especially on offense, but they got rid of the problem in Matt Patricia and brought in Bill O'Brien to be their offensive coordinator. And while I still don't think their offense will be great, I definitely think Bill O'Brien will help. And he will definitely help the Patriots offense with them actually having an offensive-minded offensive coordinator. This is also a big year for Mac Jones, as he needs to bounce back from a terrible season last year and show he could be a good quarterback like he was in his rookie year. Then you look to the defense for New England. That should be the strength of their team once again. Whenever you've got a Bill Belichick coach team, you're always going to have a great defense. And I would expect another very, very solid defense for the Patriots. Very solid team. They have a tough schedule. I've got them at 6-11, fourth in the AFC East. Third in the AFC East is the Miami Dolphins. So third could be the Dolphins or the Jets. I have the Dolphins in third because they were very good last year, and I think they will be very good this year, especially now that they're healthy. They've got Tua back at quarterback, and he needs to stay healthy. And if he can stay healthy, they can have one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. Last year, the Dolphins had 8 completions for at least 50 yards, and that was tied for best in the NFL. And Tua didn't even play for the entire season. But the Dolphins still have Tyreek Hill, still have Jalen Waddle, and the offense should be really good. Defensively, the Dolphins made some really nice additions to the team. I like the hire of Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator, and they also went out and traded for Jalen Ramsey, although the unfortunate news for the Dolphins is he will be out the majority of the regular season due to an injury. But the Dolphins are a team with a lot of potential. They need to stay healthy, and if they do, they have potential to win the East, but I've got them 9-8, third in the AFC East. Second in the East is the Jets. So they were one of the most active teams this offseason. Their big move is obviously trading for Aaron Rodgers. They also signed Dalvin Cook. Plus, they have a returning Breece Hall from a torn ACL, so they're going to have a really good run game. Plus, their receivers are pretty good. I expect Garrett Wilson to take a big step forward now that he's got a really good quarterback, because last year he had 1,100 yards with Mike White and Zach Wilson throwing him the ball. Now that's a significant upgrade in going to a potentially top 5 quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. Now, I do have concerns about the Jets' offensive line, especially at tackles, because Duane Brown did not play at all in the preseason, and he also just turned 38. And then there's also Mekhi Becton, who could be really good, but he has not played a full game in the NFL since 2020. But if the offensive line could protect Aaron Rodgers, the offense should be really good. And then you look at the defense for the Jets. Their defense should be elite. They were really good defensively last year, and I expect that to be the same this year. They should be one of the best defenses in the league. And their pass defense should be really good. I think Sauce Gardner is going to be one of the best defensive players in the NFL. And the Jets should be really good this year. I've got them making the playoffs for the first time since 2010, finishing second in the AFC East with an 11-6 record. And winning the AFC East is the Buffalo Bills. So the gap is closed between the Bills and the rest of the AFC East. But I still think the Bills are the best team in the division. Their passing attack will be great with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Now, I know people like to hate on Josh Allen because of his interceptions last year, but he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Now, the Bills' offensive line is a concern because it wasn't great last year, but they did make some nice moves to the offensive line, especially the interior of the offensive line, signing Connor McGovern and drafting O'Cyrus Torrence. And then defensively for the Bills, they weren't amazing last year. They lost star linebacker Tremaine Edmonds in free agency, and they're going to be without Von Miller for at least the first 4 games as he's going to begin the season on IR. But the Bills should be above average defensively. I've got them winning the East for the 4th straight season, finishing with a 13-4 record. Moving on to the NFC North. Last in the North, I've got the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Steelers, they're always a very interesting team. They're always a solid team, always a team in playoff contention. On offense, they've got second-year quarterback Kenny Pickett, and I think he's going to take a step forward in his second season. Now, the Steelers also have some good playmakers around their second-year quarterback, like Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, George Pickens, and Deontay Johnson. Now, the offensive line could hold this offense back because that has been a major weakness of the team for the past few seasons now. The Steelers did make some nice moves, signing Isaac Sermillo, hopefully I said his name correctly, and also drafting Broderick Jones from Georgia. But I think they're going to help the offensive line, but I still don't think their offensive line is going to be amazing. Then you look to the defense for the Steelers. They should be really good defensively. Once again, TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick. They added Cole Holcomb and Joey Porter Jr. to an already good defense, so the Steelers' defense should be really good once again. Steelers, a team with potential to be better than this. I've got them 9-8. Third in the AFC North is the Cleveland Browns. So they were not very good last season, but I think they could be really good this year, and a big part of that starts offensively with quarterback Deshaun Watson. He was terrible after he returned from his suspension last season, where he completed just 58% of his passes, had 7 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. But if Deshaun Watson could regain his form from when he was in Houston. The Browns' offense could be really good because they've already got the best running back in the league, Nick Chubb. They've got a good offensive line and a solid receiving core as well. And then defensively for the Browns, they were going to have an elite pass rush with Myles Garrett and Za'Darius Smith. And their defense should also be solid, but if the Browns can put it all together this year, they could be really good. But because there is some unknowns for the Browns this season, I've got them 9-8, third in the AFC North. I can see the Browns better than this, definitely, but they played in a tough division, and I've got the Browns third in the North at 9-8. Second in the North is the Ravens, so they're another team with potential to be really good. They don't have as many questions as some other teams. Offensively, they should be better. They hired Todd Monken, former Georgia offensive coordinator, to be their offensive coordinator. They've re-signed Lamar Jackson, which was huge. Now they just need him to stay healthy. And they also finally got Lamar Jackson some good weapons, as they signed OBJ and drafted Zay Flowers, plus they're going to have a healthy Rashad Bateman, and they still have Mark Andrews. Defensively, the Ravens should be good, but they will be without Marlon Humphrey for at least the first week of the season, maybe longer. But the Ravens should be a really good team this year. I've got them second in the AFC North, getting into the playoffs with a 12-5 record. And winning the AFC North has got the Cincinnati Bengals, so they should be really good. Once again, I don't expect that to change. Their offense should be great once again. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, and now an offensive line that should be better than it was last year. And the offensive line was still really good last year, especially in the second half of the season. Now they signed Orlando Brown Jr., who is the best free agent offensive lineman. And the Bengals offense should be one of the best in the NFL. Defensively, they will have some new starters in the secondary after they lost safeties Jesse Bates and Von Bell. But they did get rid of Eli Apple, so at least that's an upgrade for the secondary. But the Bengals, they should be really good once again. I've got them winning the North at 13-4. Moving to the AFC South, finishing last in the South is the Houston Texans. So they're a team that is set up for the future. I like the direction they're headed with DeMeco Ryans as head coach and a lot of their new young players, such as C.J. Stroud, Tank Dell, promising second-year running back Dameon Pierce. Defensively, they won't be great, but they've got some really promising players there as well. Number 3 overall pick Will Anderson Jr. and second-year safety Jalen Petrie. Texans with a bright future, but this season will be rough. They finished 3-14. Next team is the Indianapolis Colts. So, the Colts are a team a lot like the Texans, focused on the future. They hired Shane Steichen as their head coach and drafted Anthony Richardson. And there's going to be some growing pains for the Colts with Anthony Richardson at quarterback. There's going to be some games where he's great, other games where he's terrible. The Colts will also be without Jonathan Taylor for at least the first 4 games, but with his contract situation, he may be out longer than just 4 games. And defensively, the Colts should be decent. The Colts, I don't think they'll be great. They could be okay, but I see a ceiling for them of like 7 wins. I've got them 4-13. Second in the AFC South is the Tennessee Titans. So they're a team that's in a very weird spot. They could be decent, but I don't think they will be all that good. They signed DeAndre Hopkins, and he should help the passing attack, but I don't really think Ryan Tannehill is that good anymore. So they're going to need to lean on the run a lot, and their defense should be pretty good. But I've got the Titans with an okay season at 8-9. I could see them a bit better. I could see them a bit worse. But overall, a decent season for the Titans. And winning the AFC South for the second straight season is the Jaguars. They won the division last year. They went 9-8. They should take another step forward. Offensively, I think Trevor Lawrence makes the leap to an MVP candidate. They should have a good run game with Travis Etienne. And the receiving corps was already good last year. They're going to get a big boost with Calvin Ridley as he returns from suspension. Now, defensively, they will need to generate more pressure on opposing quarterbacks. As last year, they had just 25 sacks. But the Jaguars, as a team, should be really good. I've got them 12-5 and AFC South champions. And moving to the AFC West, at the bottom of the division, we've got the Las Vegas Raiders. So the Raiders, they're a strange team. They're a decent team on paper, but last year they just went 6-11. I think they'll be in the similar range to that this year. They brought in Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, but I see that as a slight downgrade from Derek Carr. Now, they still have Josh Jacobs and will have an effective run game, and they've also still got a top 3 wide receiver in Devontae Adams. Then move to the defensive side of the ball. They weren't great last year, and I don't really think they're going to be a very good defensive team this year. And I've got the Raiders at 4-13. Although I could see them a little bit better than that. I think that's probably... They should win a few more games, but I don't really think the Raiders will be all that good. Third in the West is the Broncos. They're another team that is very interesting. They hired Sean Payton as their head coach, and he might be key to helping Russell Wilson find his former self, but Russ is 34, and even if Sean Payton helps him, I definitely think his best days are behind him. Now, outside of Russell Wilson, the Broncos have some good skill players, such as a healthy Javonte Williams, Jerry Jeudy, and Courtland Sutton, but the offensive success will largely depend on Russell Wilson. Then moving to the defensive side of the ball, the Broncos were elite defensively last year. I would expect that to be the case once again. The Broncos finished 6-11, although they could be a little bit better than that. Second in the AFC West is the Los Angeles Chargers, another team with potential. They brought in Kellen Moore to be their offensive coordinator, and he could help this offense reach new heights, which on paper is one of the best offenses in the NFL. Justin Herbert, Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, the rookie Quentin Johnston, and a good offensive line. So this Chargers offense could be really good. Then defensively, the Chargers are loaded. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson, Derwin James. This is a really good Chargers team, and as long as they can stay healthy and don't Charger it, which is no guarantee because they are the Chargers, but the Chargers should be really good this year. I've got them 11-6. And winning the AFC West, it is no surprise, it is the defending Super Bowl champions. They should be elite once again. Their offense will be great. Their offense will be really good as long as they've got Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid. Now, the Chiefs do have a couple questions. One being the offensive line, because they lost star left tackle Orlando Brown and signed Jawan Taylor in free agency. But Taylor played right tackle in Jacksonville, and they also signed Donovan Smith. But in his time with the Buccaneers, he was not a great left tackle, and he was a culprit of a lot of holding calls. Now, the other question I have for the Chiefs is Chris Jones, because he currently isn't with the team as he seeks a contract extension. But even with the Chiefs' questions, I still think they should be able to figure those out throughout the first few weeks of the season, and hopefully Chris Jones gets on the field sometime soon for them. And I have the Chiefs being one of the best teams in the NFL, winning the AFC West for the 8th consecutive season and finishing with a 14-3 record. Moving on to the NFC in the East. At the bottom of the the NFC East is the Commanders. So they're another interesting team. They were a solid 8-1 last year, but they missed the playoffs. They brought in a new offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, but they do have a new quarterback in Sam Howell. Now, this is a Commanders offense that wasn't very good a season ago, and a big reason why it was terrible offensive line play. The Commanders did try to improve the offensive line, but I still don't think it will be great. Then you move to the defensive side of the ball for the Commanders. They're going to have an elite defense once again. Their defense was the reason they were solid last year, and I expect a really good defense for the Commanders once again. The Commanders could be a solid team. I really don't know how good they will be, or what their ceiling is. I'd say their ceiling is probably 9 wins. I don't really think they'll be elite. I've got them going 5-12, but I could see them being a bit better than that. Third in the NFC East is the Giants. So I think the Giants are one of the more underrated teams heading into this season. A lot of people think they were lucky last season, and they won't be better than last season. I think the Giants will be better than last year. I think they're going to take it a step forward as a team. Because you look at the offense, I think Daniel Jones takes another step forward in year 2 under Brian Daboll. They re-signed Saquon Barkley. They greatly upgraded their pass-catching group. They traded for Darren Waller, and their offensive line has potential to be an above-average offensive line this season. Then you move to the defense. They have a good pass rush. They upgraded the secondary with rookie cornerback Deonte Banks. And then the linebackers have been much improved with the additions of Isaiah Simmons and Bobby Okereke. So I think the Giants will be a lot better than last season and finish 11-6 this season as long as they can stay healthy. Second in the NFC East is the Dallas Cowboys. They're another team with potential. They have a healthy Dak Prescott, and he should be good, but he does need to cut down on the interceptions from a season ago. They have a good group of receivers, which now also has Brandon Cooks, and the offensive line should be good if they can stay healthy. But if the offensive line can't stay healthy, it could be a concern because they're not very deep along the offensive line. Then you move to the defense for Dallas. They should be really good. They were great defensively last year. I'd expect that to continue. They finished second in the East at 11-6. And winning the NFC East, it is no surprise, it is the Philadelphia Eagles. They're the defending NFC champs, and they should be really good once again. They should be the favorite in this division. Offensively for the Eagles, Jalen Hurts should continue to be an MVP candidate. He's got a great group of playmakers around him with DeAndre Swift, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert. Plus, the Eagles have one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Then you move to the defense. They lost Javon Hargrave and C.J. Gardner-Johnson in free agency, but they should still be really good. And I've got the Eagles being the best team in the NFL in the regular season record-wise, finishing at 15-2. Moving to the NFC North, at the bottom of the North is the Bears. So the Bears are below the other teams in this division, but I think the Bears should definitely show improvement this season. I really like what the Bears are doing. They're surrounding Justin Fields with playmakers. They traded for DJ Moore and have been improving the offensive line by drafting Darnell Wright. Then, defensively for the Bears, they made some nice improvements, such as signing linebackers Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards. So I really like what the Bears are doing, and I think in a few seasons, if Justin Fields is really good, they could be really good in a few seasons, but I still think they're at least a season away from being a good football team, and I've got them at 7-10, but I think they will show some promise this season. Third in the NFC North is the Packers. So the Packers have a new face at quarterback in Jordan Love, and I think he's going to be pretty good. Now, the Packers, they are very inexperienced at wide receiver, with their top 3 receivers being in either their first or second NFL seasons. Then you move to defense side of the ball. The Packers' defense was solid a season ago, and I expect them to be a bit better defensively. And I have the Packers having a very similar season to last year. They finished 3rd in the North at 9-8. Second in the North is the Vikings. The Vikings were 13-4 last year and had some insane luck in one-score games. Now, I do think the Vikings will be good, not quite as good, because they won't be quite as lucky in one-score games. They also have no more Adam Thielen or Dalvin Cook. Then you move to the defense, which was terrible last season. They should be a little bit better. They hired Brian Flores as their defensive coordinator. And I think the Vikings should still be a solid team, not quite 13-4. I've got them 10-7, second in the North. And winning the NFC North for the first time since 1993, I've got the Detroit Lions. I'm buying into the hype for the Lions this season. They were great offensively last year. They added a great dual-threat running back in first-round pick Jahmyr Gibbs. Defensively for the Lions last year, it was a struggle. They signed C.J. Gardner-Johnson, drafted Brian Branch, and their defense should... I still don't think their defense will be great, but they should be a lot better than they were last year. The Lions should be really good, win the North for the first time, as I said, since 1993, make the playoffs for the first time since 2016, and finish with a 10-7 record. Moving to the NFC South, this is an extremely tough division to predict, because all the teams are not great. But at the bottom of the South, we've got the Carolina Panthers. They made some big changes this offseason. They hired Frank Reich as their head coach, traded for the number 1 overall pick, and drafted Bryce Young. Now, the downside to trading for the number 1 overall pick is they traded away their top receiver in DJ Moore, and that leaves them with not many playmakers around Bryce Young, because right now their top receivers are an aging Adam Thielen and a DJ Chark, who struggles to stay healthy, but is solid when he's healthy, and then their third receiver is a rookie, Jonathan Mingo. Now, defensively, they should be decent, but Brian Burns, their best defensive player by far, is uncertain to play at the beginning of the season due to a contract situation. But I don't expect the Panthers to be very good this year. I've got them 3-14. Third in the South, I've got the Buccaneers. So the Bucs no longer have Tom Brady, and I don't really think they're going to be all that great this season because they weren't great last year. They only got into the playoffs because they were extremely lucky to win a very weak division. They've got Baker Mayfield as their starting quarterback, and he hasn't been especially good recently. Last year, he was not great. They've got a good running back in Rachaad White and a good receiving core, but the offensive line isn't great. Defensively, I think they're going to be pretty good, but if the Bucs want to be good, they're going to need good offensive line play and Baker Mayfield to at least be a solid quarterback. But I've got the Bucs at 4-13, but it's really hard to predict for the Buccaneers this season. Second in the South, I've got the Atlanta Falcons. They're another team that probably won't be great, but they have potential. Desmond Ridder at quarterback could be decent. There are a lot of unknowns with him, but the Falcons have really put him in a position to succeed, surrounding him with great young players such as Tyrell Algier, Bijan Robinson, Drake London, and Kyle Pitts. Now, defensively, the Falcons also made some really nice moves, signing Jesse Bates and Quayles Campbell, and also trading for Jeff Okudah. But the Falcons are a team with potential, but a lot of that potential is going to depend on their second-year quarterback, Desmond Ridder. The Falcons go 6-11, finish second in the South. And winning the NFC South, we've got the New Orleans Saints. They're a decent team. I've got them winning a bad division. They brought in Derek Carr at quarterback, and he's got some weapons around him, like Alvin Kamara once he gets back from his suspension. Also, Michael Thomas and Chris Olave. Now, defensively for the Saints, they should be really good, although a lot of their best defensive players are getting a lot older. I've got the Saints winning the NFC South at 7-10, but they could be a bit better than that. Our final division is the NFC West. Bottom of the division, no surprise, it is the Arizona Cardinals. They're likely the worst team in the NFL. They've got a terrible roster, and we'll be starting either Josh Dobbs or rookie Clayton Tune at quarterback. The rest of their team is pretty bad. They've got a few good players like Zaven Collins, Hollywood Brown, and Budda Baker, but the Cardinals are in a really bad spot. Definitely will be the worst team in the NFL. They finished at 2-15, and it was hard to find 2 wins for this Cardinals team. Third in the West is the Rams. They're an interesting team because they were terrible last year, but most of the team was on IR by week 8. Now, the Rams are healthy, and their offense should be solid as long as their offensive line is good. Then defensively for the Rams, they lost 10 of 11 starters. The only starter returning is Aaron Donald. But the Rams could be decent. I think their defense will hold them back, and they'll finish 5-12, third in the NFC West. Second in the West is the Seahawks. They were a really surprising team last year. Made the playoffs, made a bunch of offseason moves to make sure that wasn't a fluke. They re-signed Geno Smith, drafted Zach Charbonnet, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. And then defensively, they should be good because they signed Drummond Jones in free agency, re-signed Bobby Wagner, drafted Devin Witherspoon to create an elite quarterback pairing with Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen. But the Seahawks, they should be good once again, but unfortunately, I do have them missing out in the playoffs going 10-7. And winning the West, it is the 49ers. They're definitely the best team in the West. They've got an elite defense and a good offense with a great group of skill players such as Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, and George Kittle to surround their second-year quarterback Brock Purdy. 49ers should be great once again, then win the West and finish 13-4. Moving to my playoff predictions, quickly going over the seeding. In the playoffs, in the AFC, my 1 seed is the Chiefs, 2 is the Bengals, 3 is the Bills, 4 is the Jaguars, 5 Ravens, 6 Chargers, 7 Jets. And in the NFC, 1 Eagles, 2 49ers, 3 Lions, 4 Saints, 5 Cowboys, 6 Giants, 7 Vikings. Predictions in the wildcard round, not going to go too in-depth on each of these, but we've got the Bengals over the Jets, Bills over the Chargers, and Ravens over the Jaguars. Then in the NFC, for the wildcard round, we've got the 49ers over the Vikings, Giants over the Lions, and the Cowboys over the Saints. In the divisional round, in the AFC, we've got the Chiefs defeating the Ravens, the Bills getting revenge on the Bengals and beating them, and in the NFC divisional round, we've got the Eagles over the Giants again, and the 49ers over the Cowboys again. Then you move into the conference championship games. The AFC championship, the Bills and Chiefs again in the playoffs. I think the Chiefs got it done once again. And in the NFC, the Eagles again beat the 49ers. And in the Super Bowl, a Super Bowl rematch, the Chiefs, I've got them defeating the Eagles. It's rare to see back-to-back Super Bowl wins, but I think the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. We haven't seen a team win 2 straight Super Bowls since the Patriots did it in 2003 and 2004, but I think the Chiefs are the best team in the league, and they repeat as Super Bowl champions. And briefly going over my award predictions, just going to go over the main ones: MVP, Offensive Defensive Player of the Year, and Rookie of the Years. MVP, Patrick Mahomes. He is the best player in the NFL. The Chiefs are going to be really good. He's going to put up monster numbers. No reason for him to not win MVP. Offensive Player of the Year is going to be Justin Jefferson. He is probably the best non-quarterback in the NFL. He's going to put up insane numbers once again. I think he breaks the NFL receiving record and goes for over 2,000 yards, which will, by default, give him the Offensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year, I think it's Sauce Gardner. I think he's going to have another elite season, and after this year, I think he will be recognized as the top corner in the NFL. Offensive Rookie of the Year is Bijan Robinson. He is an insane prospect, and I think he's going to be really good for the Falcons in his first year. He's going to do a lot of different things for them. And Defensive Rookie of the Year, a lot of people said he was the best player in the draft overall, and I think that Defensive Rookie of the Year is going to be Jalen Carter. But those are my 2023 NFL predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, turn the notifications so at their open videos. Let me know in the comments, who do you have winning the Super Bowl? And, but yeah, that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, turn the notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.